Have you ever met someone who didn't need to speak loudly, yet the entire room shifted the moment he walked in? He wasn't flashy. He didn't try to impress. But somehow, everyone noticed him. Especially women. There's a kind of man who doesn't chase attention. He commands it. Not through ego. Not through charm. But through presence. And that presence is unforgettable. This video isn't about becoming the alpha. It's not about tricks, pickup lines, or playing games. It's about becoming the man who never needs to prove his worth, because he lives it. A man who knows himself so deeply, the world feels it without him saying a word. If you've ever felt like you're too reactive, too easily pulled into emotions, or constantly trying to win love by chasing it, then this might be the wake-up call you didn't know you needed. Because once you develop real emotional intelligence, not softness, not silence, but strength in calm, you stop being manipulated, and you start becoming magnetic. Stay with me until the end. Every single part of this will build on the last. Miss one piece, and you might miss the shift that could change your entire relationships. So take a breath, clear your mind, and lean in. Because what you're about to hear might just change how the world experiences you, and how women never forget you. Let's begin. Trait 1. He sees the emotional game without reacting to it. Let's start with the most misunderstood but most powerful skill a man can have. The ability to recognize an emotional pattern and not respond the way she expects. Picture this. You're in a relationship, and one day, she starts acting different. Short texts, cold tone, less affection. You ask if everything's okay. She says, "I'm fine," but you know she's not. Most guys panic. They jump straight into fix-it mode. They text more, call more, explain themselves, replay every conversation in their head trying to figure out what they did wrong. Others go the opposite way. They get cold too. They shut down, pull back, pretend like they don't care. Both reactions come from the same place. Fear. The fear of losing her. The fear of being rejected. The fear of being seen as not enough. But here's the truth no one teaches men. That emotional shift you just felt, it might not even be about you. She might be testing you. She might be reacting to her own stress, insecurities, or doubts. Or maybe she just wants to see how you'll respond when the energy changes. See, women don't just pay attention to what you say. They watch how you act under pressure. When things feel off, do you stay grounded, or do you spiral? Here's where emotional intelligence becomes your superpower. The man who's grounded doesn't flinch at the shift. He notices it. He feels it. But he doesn't panic. He doesn't blow up her phone. He doesn't write paragraphs trying to convince her of his worth. He doesn't ask for reassurance or try to fix something she hasn't even spoken about. He waits. He watches. He allows space for both of them. And when he does respond, it's calm, intentional. Maybe he says, "I noticed your energy's a little different lately. Just know I'm here if you want to talk." That's it. No pressure. No chasing. No drama. That kind of calm presence is rare. And it's powerful. Not because it's manipulative, but because it's stable. And stability is magnetic. In a world where most men either fold under tension or fight for control, the man who stays centered becomes unforgettable. Now, let's be clear. This doesn't mean you ignore bad behavior. This isn't about tolerating disrespect or walking on eggshells. It's about not reacting emotionally to emotional bait. It's about seeing the move, but choosing a higher one. Think of it like this. She pulls away emotionally. That's her move. Most men respond instantly. That's predictable. You pause. You observe. You choose how to respond, not based on fear, but based on who you are. That makes you unpredictable and powerful. You're not playing defense. You're playing chess. And here's what happens when you respond this way. She notices. Maybe not immediately, but over time, she starts to realize. You're not like the rest. You don't collapse. You don't beg. You don't react. You become the calm in the storm. The one she can't control, but wants to follow. And that, right there, is what sets you apart. It's not coldness. It's control. Self-control. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to raise your voice or chase after love. You simply hold your ground, with quiet strength. Because when you stop reacting emotionally to every shift, every mood swing, every test, you show her that your center doesn't belong to anyone else. And in a world full of men who crumble under pressure, the man who stays calm, he becomes rare. He becomes respected. He becomes unforgettable. Let this be your reminder. You're not here to be tested. You're here to observe, decide, and act with clarity. You don't chase what runs. You attract by being the mountain. Trait 2. He validates himself before anyone else can. Let's be honest. Most men are walking around hoping to be liked. They don't even realize it, but everything they do, how they dress, how they talk, even how they laugh, is shaped by this unconscious need. Please accept me. And that's exactly why they come off weak. Not because they're bad guys, but because deep down, they've placed their sense of worth in someone else's hands. Especially in the hands of a woman. It starts subtle. She makes a joke at your expense. Maybe she teases your job, your car, your height, your goals. Just a playful jab. But all eyes are on you. Most men smile nervously. They laugh along. Or they try to defend themselves and explain why she's wrong. What they don't realize is this. That moment was a test. Not because she's cruel, but because every emotionally intelligent woman subconsciously scans for strength. Not in muscles, but in how you carry yourself under pressure. You see, it's not about the joke. It's about how quickly you give your power away just to keep the peace. Now picture this instead. She throws the same comment. But this time you smile. You hold eye contact. And you respond with calm curiosity. Interesting comment. Then, you move on. You don't defend. You don't get defensive. You don't take it personally. Why? Because you're not there to earn her approval. You already approve of yourself. And that, my friend, is rare. It's not arrogance. It's not aloofness. It's inner stability. It's self-respect. You know who you are. You've made peace with your story, your flaws, your past, your progress. You've chosen yourself long before she even showed up. So if she accepts you, great. If she doesn't, you'll be just fine. Because your value wasn't born from her validation. It was built in silence. When no one was watching, no one was clapping. This is what separates boys from men. Boys seek to be liked. Men seek to be honest. And here's the twist most people never understand. The less you need someone's approval, the more powerful you become in their eyes. Why? Because confidence isn't about volume. It's about ownership. You own your flaws. You own your strengths. You own your space in the room. You don't shrink. You don't puff up. You just are. And that grounded presence speaks louder than any compliment you could ever give yourself out loud. In relationships, this shows up everywhere. She pulls back emotionally. You don't chase. You don't wonder, what did I do wrong? You don't start changing yourself to win her back. Instead, you check in with yourself. Am I proud of how I've shown up? If the answer is yes, you hold your frame. If the answer is no, you adjust, not for her, but for your own standard. That kind of internal compass is what women feel, even if they can't explain it. And most of them will say later, there was just something about him. I couldn't shake it. What they're describing is emotional leadership, self-validation, the quiet confidence of a man who doesn't need to be chosen because he's already chosen himself. So remember this. The moment you make her opinion the mirror for your identity, you lose yourself. But the moment you decide to show up without trying to impress anyone, that's when you become unforgettable. Let her test. Let her question. Let her flirt, tease, pull away. None of it controls you anymore. Because now, you know who you are. You've claimed it. And you wear it, not with pride, but with peace. Trait 3. He understands her, without needing to control her. There's a certain kind of man who doesn't try to figure her out. He simply sees her clearly, without judgment, without games, without the need to win. And that kind of man, he's dangerous in the best way. Let me explain. In most relationships, there's an unspoken battle happening under the surface. Who gets to lead the emotional tone? For many women, especially those who are used to being in control emotionally, they've learned how to steer a conversation, push buttons, or use silence to create power. And most men, they either push back, get defensive, raise their voice, or over-explain. Or they withdraw completely, go cold, go quiet, disappear into emotional shutdown. Neither works, because both come from insecurity. But an emotionally intelligent man plays the game differently. He doesn't flinch when she gets moody. He doesn't panic when she pulls back. He doesn't demand answers or chase after every feeling she expresses. Instead, he holds presence. Let's take a real example. You're dating someone. Lately, her tone has changed. She seems irritated, distant, not herself. Most guys would immediately think, "What did I do wrong?" and start apologizing for things they don't even understand. Or worse, they ignore her completely and hope it just passes. But you observe. You pause. You ask once, gently, directly, "Is something on your mind?" She says, "No, I'm fine." And you believe her. Not because you think she's telling the truth, but because you respect her right to share on her own time. So you don't push. You don't pry. You give space. But that space is not absence. It's presence without pressure. Then, when the emotion passes, when the moment is right, you bring it back. Calmly. Without blame. Without accusation. "Hey, a few days ago I noticed your energy felt different. If there's anything you want to talk about, I'm here." That patience, it's rare. And it disarms her. Because what she expected was control. What she got was understanding. And that kind of emotional presence, it can't be faked. It's felt in how you breathe. How you pause before speaking. How you choose to listen, not just to her words, but to the silence between them. Most men try to lead by force. You lead by awareness. And in doing so, you change the game. You're no longer reacting to her moods. You're steady enough to hold space for them. You're no longer trying to fix her feelings. You're allowing her to feel without losing yourself in the process. That changes how she sees you. Not as someone to control, but as someone to trust. And here's the truth. Most people are not used to being understood without being managed. So when she meets a man who doesn't try to control her emotions, doesn't try to fix her moods, doesn't panic when she pulls away, but instead holds space, waits patiently, and responds with depth and clarity, it shifts everything. She realizes, maybe for the first time, that she doesn't need to create chaos to be noticed, that she doesn't need to test to feel safe, that your calm isn't passive. It's powerful. You're not playing defense. You're not playing games. You're playing chess, with your heart, your mind, and your boundaries aligned. So remember this. You don't need to control her to understand her. You don't need to analyze every word she says. You just need to stay grounded, stay present, and listen like a man who knows his worth. Because when she sees that she can't bait you into drama, that her emotions won't knock you off balance, and that you respond from clarity, not fear, she'll feel something far more powerful than control. She'll feel safe. Safe to soften. Safe to be real. safe to trust. And that is where true connection begins. Trait 4. He handles conflict without raising his voice. Most people think strength is shown in how loud you get, how hard you push, how well you argue. But real strength, it shows up in silence, in restraint, in how calm you stay when the room gets loud. Let's talk about conflict, because every relationship will face it. There will be disagreements, misunderstandings, tension. But what separates men who grow deeper in those moments from men who destroy connection entirely isn't what they say. It's how they say it. And more importantly, how they listen. Picture this. You're in the middle of an argument. She's emotional, frustrated, maybe even throwing accusations your way. It's heated. Your heart rate rises. Your ego wants to jump in, cut her off, correct her, defend yourself. But instead of matching that fire, you take a breath. You let her finish. And when you do speak, you speak slowly, with clarity, without trying to win. You ask, what are you really feeling behind that? Or, help me understand what you're needing right now. No sarcasm, no superiority, just calm, steady presence. That kind of emotional leadership is rare, because most people aren't used to it. They're used to escalation, to being met with more chaos, more heat, more noise. But you change the entire rhythm. You become the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the emotional temperature instead of reacting to it. And here's what makes that powerful. She can't escalate you. She can't knock you off center. Not because you're cold, but because you're in control of yourself. And that, right there, is a lost art. You see, most men only operate in two modes: passive or explosive. They avoid conflict altogether, or they lash out and lose composure. But the emotionally intelligent man doesn't fear conflict. He simply doesn't let it control him. He's firm when needed, gentle when appropriate. And when the moment calls for it, he can walk away, without drama, without resentment. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. You don't win arguments by being louder. You win them by staying clear-headed enough to find truth, not just victory. And here's the deeper part. When you stay calm during conflict, you send a powerful signal. You're not reacting from ego. You're responding from intention. She may not like everything you say, but she'll respect how you say it. And over time, that respect turns into trust. And trust builds real intimacy. You become the man who doesn't add fuel to the fire. You bring water, not to put her out, but to cool the moment so you both can think, speak, and feel clearly. That's rare. And that's why it's unforgettable. Let me be clear. This isn't about being nice. It's about being emotionally disciplined. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is not respond right away. To give it space. To come back when both hearts have calmed down. Because in the end, it's not about who said what or who won. It's about, did you both feel heard? Did you both stay human? Did you protect the connection, even while disagreeing? That's what separates a reactive man from a grounded one. So the next time tension rises, don't rush to speak. Don't defend your ego. Don't try to prove a point just to feel right. Instead, breathe. Anchor the moment. Lead with tone, not volume. Lead with patience, not pride. Because anyone can raise their voice. But the man who keeps his steady, he doesn't just win the argument. He earns her respect for life. Trait 5. He doesn't fear her feelings. He guides them and becomes her safe space. Most men misunderstand strength. They think it means showing no emotion or dominating the emotional space. But true emotional strength, it's not about ignoring feelings. It's about holding them without flinching. And that's what makes a man unforgettable. Let's talk about something no one says out loud. Many women have been in relationships where they had to lead emotionally. They had to regulate the tone. They had to set the tempo. Because the men they were with either avoided emotions completely or couldn't handle theirs. So over time, she learned, if I don't lead, the whole thing falls apart. Now imagine this same woman meets you. She's strong, maybe even fiery. She pushes. She tests. She challenges. Not because she wants to destroy you, but because part of her wants to see. Can you hold her storm? Can you match her fire without burning the house down? And when you don't flinch, when you don't raise your voice or shut down, when you stay grounded, meet her gaze and say, I hear you. I'm not going anywhere. But we're going to talk through this the right way. Something shifts inside her, because for the first time, she doesn't feel like she has to be the one holding everything together. She realizes, this man, he's not afraid of my feelings. He can handle them, not by overpowering me, but by staying rooted when I can't. That kind of presence is rare, and it's something every high-quality woman craves, even if she doesn't say it. Because emotional storms are not always about the surface-level issue. Sometimes, it's about testing whether the space is safe enough to express freely, without being judged, without being shut down, without being overpowered. And when you show that level of emotional leadership, she starts to relax. Not because you're controlling her, but because you're finally someone she doesn't have to control. Most men either run from the storm, or try to match the chaos. But you stand in the fire, calm, focused, unshaken. You say, you don't have to be perfect here. You can feel, I'm not afraid of that. And those words, they do something to her nervous system. You go from being just a man to becoming a safe place. A place where her guard drops. Where she doesn't have to lead anymore. Where she can rest. Where she can trust. Because here's the truth. Most women aren't testing you because they want to fight. They're testing you because they want to feel safe. They want to know, if I lose my center, will you still keep yours? That's the difference between attraction and devotion. A man who reacts emotionally might attract her briefly. But the man who stays calm in her chaos, he earns her soul. Let's be clear. This doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. It means having the emotional awareness to meet intensity with stability. Not silence. Not submission. But steady, grounded strength. Because when your energy is calm, it becomes contagious. She rises to match your frequency. Not because you demanded it, but because you inspired it. And now, she doesn't want to test you anymore. She wants to follow you. Not from weakness, but from trust. So remember, you don't need to control her feelings. You just need to be the man who doesn't fear them. And in a world where most men are running from emotions, you become the one she runs toward. Trait 6. He can walk away, without drama, without regret. This is the final form of emotional intelligence. Not how you show up in love, but how you let go of it. Because at some point, every man faces this test. You've given your time, your energy, your effort. You've shown up with presence and patience. But something has shifted. Maybe it's misalignment. Maybe it's disrespect. Maybe the connection just isn't what it used to be. And now, you have a choice. Most men, when they sense a relationship slipping away, lose control. They try to fix it. They bargain. They make promises. Or worse, they explode. They cause scenes. They burn bridges. They try to hurt the other person because they're hurting themselves. But the emotionally intelligent man, he does something different. He accepts the truth. He doesn't avoid the pain. He feels it, fully, deeply, but privately. And then, he walks away. Not out of spite. Not out of ego. But out of clarity. He doesn't need to prove anything. He doesn't need to win the breakup. He doesn't need closure wrapped in fireworks. Because he already gave it his all. And when something no longer aligns with his peace, his values, or his growth, he has the strength to leave. Quietly, dignified, complete. And that terrifies people. Because we live in a world where walking away calmly is rare. Where detachment is misunderstood. Where love is often confused with possession. But this man, he knows the difference. He was never there because he needed her. He was there because he chose her. And once that choice no longer honored who he is, he chose differently. That's not coldness. That's power. The kind of power that doesn't scream. It doesn't chase. It doesn't look back with bitterness. It just moves on. And that silence, it echoes. Because when you leave without chaos, you leave her with something more impactful than words. Your absence. No dramatic goodbye. No guilt trip. Just the clear, steady message. My peace matters more than your approval. And here's the truth most men never learn. You don't need to fight to prove your worth. You don't need to hold on to be strong. Sometimes, the real strength is in releasing what no longer fits. Not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring about yourself. And when a woman sees that you have the power to walk away, without begging, without blaming, without trying to be the better one, she realizes she never owned you. You were never emotionally dependent. You were always there by conscious choice. And now, you're gone by conscious decision. That kind of emotional discipline, it's unforgettable. Because it shows her, and the world, that a man like you isn't driven by fear. He's driven by truth. And when the truth changes, so does his direction. So let this be your reminder. You don't need to leave a trail of destruction to prove you're strong. You don't need to stay just to prove you're loyal. You need to know when to hold on, and when to let go. Because in the end, it's not about being right. It's about being free. Free to choose yourself. Free to guard your peace. Free to walk away from what no longer sees your value. That's the final form of emotional intelligence. And that is what makes you dangerous. You've just heard 6 traits that define the emotionally intelligent man. Not the loudest man in the room. Not the most charming. But the man who leads with clarity, not chaos. With presence, not performance. But here's the truth. Watching this video isn't enough. Real change begins in practice, not theory. So if you want to become this kind of man, one who's calm under pressure, unshaken by tests, respected in silence, then let me give you something more. Let's bring this into real life. Let's make it practical. Here are 5 things you can start doing this week that will shift how people experience you, and how you experience yourself. 1. Daily emotional check-in. Each morning or night, ask yourself, what am I feeling right now, and why? This simple act builds emotional clarity. Most men don't even realize they're carrying anxiety, shame, or fear until it erupts. Name it. Understand it. Own it, before the world uses it against you. 2. The pause rule. Before reacting, pause. Someone sends a cold text. A coworker disrespects you. Your partner throws a subtle jab. Pause for 3 seconds. Breathe. Choose your response. Don't be pulled into theirs. That pause, it's where your power lives. 3. Lead with tone, not words. Start paying attention to your tone more than your arguments. In moments of conflict, lower your volume. Soften your pace. Ask more than you explain. The calmer you speak, the more seriously people listen. 4. Practice letting go. Each week, ask, what am I holding on to that no longer serves me? It could be a person, a habit, a story about yourself. Then do something small to release it. Delete that message. Unfollow that account. Walk away from that situation. Letting go is a muscle, and you build it one rep at a time. 5. Create solitude, not isolation. Every strong man needs time alone, but not to escape. Use solitude to sharpen your thinking. Go on walks without your phone. Sit in silence and write what's on your mind. Make peace your default setting, so the world has to rise to meet it. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start showing up with intention every single day. Because in a world full of men reacting, chasing, explaining, apologizing for who they are, the man who leads himself stands apart. He's not cold. He's not controlling. He's just clear. Clear about what he feels. Clear about what he values. Clear about who he is and who he refuses to be. So if this message spoke to something inside you, write it down. Comment below, even just a sentence. And share this video with one man who needs to hear it today. Let's raise the standard. Not by shouting louder, but by standing taller.